I didn't think it was possible to surprise me with a news story anymore. Just given the state of the world, I'm always expecting wacky things every day. I'm always on guard. I read a story about megalodons not being extinct anymore. Okay, interesting, but not enough to make me even raise an eyebrow. Aliens probed my uncle. Tough luck, get in line, pal. I've read 1,000 of those stories this week. I feel like I've truly seen it all when it comes to startling headlines. You know those elite warrior characters in anime who will say shit like, I trained my body against every type of poison in the known universe. I gradually consumed all of this poison in order to build an immunity to it. That's me with goofy fucking news stories. It takes a lot to make me wobble or, even get wide-eyed in astonishment. And yet tonight, I was thrown a curveball that had me feel like I just got flashbanged. Michael Oher, who's a very famous football player who even had a very popular movie made about his story called The Blind Side, is now coming forward and alleging that that whole movie is based on a complete fucking lie. It's all a bunch of hooey. It's not real. His adoptive family, the Tuohys, actually weren't his adoptive family. He recently learned that they never actually adopted him. The papers he signed that he was led to believe were adoption papers were actually a conservatorship. That is downright evil shit here. This is a wild plot twist to the entire fabric of the space-time continuum. I'll go ahead and catch everyone up to speed on Michael Oher and his story just very briefly. I'm just going to give you the most bare bones bullet point outline here, if for anyone that hasn't seen The Blind Side. The Blind Side is a film that came out in 2009. It even stars Sandra Bullock. It was a very popular movie. It was huge for its time because the story of Michael Oher is a very interesting and a very sad one as well. Michael Oher had a pretty rough hand that he was dealt in life, and he was extremely gifted at football. A family by the name of the Tuohys, and I realize when I keep saying that it actually just sounds like Banjo-Kazooie shit. Their last name is Tuohy. The main character, aside from Michael Oher in The Blind Side, is Sandra Bullock, who portrays Leanne Tuohy, who is a real person. The Tuohys are a family that are very well off. I'm talking wipe your ass with $100 bill, placemats of pure gold, and put your pinky out when you're sipping from your chalice that's filled with Voss water because you can't stand tap. They are a wealthy family, and they became very friendly and close with Michael, and lifted him out of homelessness, invited Michael into their lives, into their family, and encouraged him to play football and follow his dreams the entire way. Eventually, it culminates with the Tuohys formally adopting Michael Oher. Or at least, that's the story that was told, but according to Michael himself, the truth is more fucked up than my right-hand pinky that I dislocated and never actually fixed. It is really fucked. So, Michael is alleging that what was signed, those so-called adoption papers, were actually a conservatorship. For those that don't know what that is, a conservatorship is basically the legal right for someone to become the guardian of an adult. This is usually reserved for cases where the individual in question here is in a state that leads to a suboptimal environment for them to make their own choices, whether it's like financial or anything like that. The most notable case of this most recently was Britney Spears. It's a whole can of worms, and it always stinks like shit. When a conservatorship gets involved, it is always a very messy, very not great situation to be in. So this is very alarming to hear here because Michael was under the impression that he was legally adopted by the Tuohys, but has recently learned as of February of this year that he's not. In fact, he's just under their conservatorship. He is literally been misled and manipulated every step of the way of his life by the Tuohys, it seems.
Instead, Oher says the couple tricked him in 2004, less than 3 months after he turned 18, into signing a document that made Sean and Leanne Tuohy his conservators, giving them full legal control over any of his contracts, but no familial relationship.
That is so deplorable, so disgusting. It makes me wish Men in Black neuralizers were real so it could just wipe this knowledge from my brain. That is so fucking twisted, but it only gets worse. Apparently, the Tuohys negotiated a deal with 20th Century Fox that left Orr without any payment for the rights to his name, likeness, and life story, while the Tuohy family received a contract price of $225K and 2.5% of the film's net proceeds. The film has grossed over $300 million. A $200,000 donation was also made to the Leigh-Anne Tuohy Charitable Foundation. According to the petition, Orr made no money off the film, which was released after he completed his college career and would not have affected his NCAA eligibility. This fucking film won an Oscar. It raked in over $300 million and he didn't see a single goddamn penny? Mr. Krabs wouldn't sink this low. That is fucking vile. They used him like an infinite money cheat code. It's unreal. So they sold all of his likeness, his story, everything, in order to exploit all of it, exploit him, and make money off of his life, of which I guess he didn't see anything from it. The fucking Tuohys took home the kit and caboodle of all of it. What a load of dirty barnacles. This is that kind of shit that absolutely has a spot reserved in hell for you. Like, that is unrivaled sin. Like, out the wazoo. And what's even sadder to think about is I can't even imagine what Michael Orr must have been feeling when he learned about the conservatorship, because that calls into question the entire motive behind the Tuohys from the very beginning. Because I do remember this as a potential, or I do remember this as a criticism where people are saying, you know, maybe there was potential here that the Tuohys aren't good people. They were only ever trying to capitalize for their own selfish financial gain off of the back of Michael Orr's football gifts. They may not have ever actually cared about Michael and wanted to help him or anything like that. They may have, from the very beginning, saw this as an opportunity to make money off of his abilities. When I first saw The Blind Side, I thought it was a very solid film, and I, of course, did hear that theory, and I said, you guys are full of beans, no way. Because I like to believe that there's good people out there, and this was an example of people that saw someone struggling and in need and did everything they could to help that person. But now, with all of this information coming out, it really does seem like the Tuohys were very much from the beginning just trying to use this as a financial opportunity to enrich themselves, which is just baffling. That is so evil. I'm going to pay very close attention to this case as it continues to develop, because obviously upon learning this information, Michael Orr does not want the Tuohys as conservators anymore, which he obviously should have the right to kick them out of that position. He is very clearly someone that is perfectly capable of making their own decisions and is in no need of having conservators make all of his decisions without him ever even knowing about them. He agreed to this conservatorship, allegedly, under complete deception. How this is anything under criminal, like, I don't know. This has to be a legitimate criminal case against the Tuohys here, assuming all of it's true. There's no way you can just mislead someone into a conservatorship and then sell everything about that person and make all of that money yourself. There's no way that's legal. There's no fucking shot. But yeah, anyway, hopefully this situation has a happy ending, and hopefully Michael gets everything he's owed from this, because Jiminy Christmas, he's gonna be owed a lot from the Tuohys here. If all of the allegations are true, that's a lot that they need to make up for. So yeah, just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya.